in the FBI's database. I bought it at a gun show. Why did you make me give it up, Rick? Why? And he says, look, we just don't have enough people, even with the Hilltop. They still have the numbers. And Michonne says, well, what if there's a third community out there, huh? What if there's a third one?
What if they have tigers?
What if they have a tiger and knights and shit?
Yeah.
And body armor. Does that influence the numbers any? And he says, look, we get some kind of life. And then he tells her the story of Shane. I thought this was a pretty effective scene.
He says, this is how we live now.
Right.
He once again reiterates.
He's wanting a threesome with Michonne? Is that what he's trying to explain with the Shane story?
I mean, yeah, might
when
be.
Morgan comes back, I just want to float an offer.
Yeah, could be.
But yeah, he tells the story of Shane, which I thought was effective because the show kind of pretends that Shane doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And for good reason. It makes perfect sense the way Rick lays it out here. But as a result of that, when they finally do talk about him, I think it's pretty effective.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And she tries to... He essentially says, like, look, I've gotten used to accepting intolerable situations because that's what you got to do to survive. And that's what we have to do now to survive and have this kind of life. Mm-hmm. And she says, look, you can't blame yourself for all these deaths. And he rightly points out, it's like, yeah, not all of them, but some of them are my fault.
Yep.
And we all have to accept this, you, me included, or it won't work. And she says... she's going to try. No promises, but she's going to try. I thought this was one of the best scenes in the episode.
Yeah, no, it was pretty solid.
Takes advantage of the fact that Andrew and Denai have like really off the charts chemistry and a good rapport with each other. But yeah. I bought this version of Rick.
I did too.
And I thought this version of Rick should have been a tad more desperate with Negan. Not to harp on this again, but like this guy here, I wish they'd played it closer to that like level of cautiousness, but whatever.
I do like where it places Michonne, kind of between collaborators and the Resistance here. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, she wants to be part of the Resistance, but for Rick's sake and for the sake of the community, she's going to try to get along with the collaborators here.
Well, she's got this is a great scene because both of the people have great arguments. Like she says, everything we've got from fighting. That's absolutely true.
Sure.
But then everything that Rick says is true too. Like it's a matter of what you're prepared to give up. Michonne is not afraid to lose things. Rick has gotten down like, well, there is nothing that I'm willing to lose anymore.
And, I mean, we've seen Michonne go from someone who only knows how to survive when she shows up at the prison to someone who now can kind of clearly see when the fighting needs to happen and when it doesn't.
Yeah.
And you know, Rick has been a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Those two together, they tend to balance each other out pretty well.
Right.
And, that's what it was all about last season. They didn't need to fight. She put her sword away. Now they kind of need to fight, or at least she thinks that's what they need until Rick explains a little bit of the situation here. But I don't know. I really like them together still, and they're one of the stronger parts of the show.
So half of the stronger part of the show goes off to the Jeep fields once more with no gun, still carrying the giant tote bag, which I wondered, what's up with that?
Yeah, is she out there to just think?
But why the tote bag? It made sense when she's hauling that big-ass rifle around, but now it's like, what is she hoping to get out there?
I don't know.
And it looks like she starts to meditate, but then she notices something or smells something. Turns out there is just a shit ton. There's just giant pile of mattresses that Negan has set on fire at the side of the road just outside of town.
So what?
And she gets enraged.
Why is she so pissed about this?
Because
they just took all your guns. They were going to take the mattresses. I know, it's a fuck you. Like, we don't even need these mattresses.
That's what it is. It's just
but who cares?
It's senseless. It's just another senseless act.
All of it is senseless. Who cares? The mattresses don't need to be the final straw here.
Okay. I guess I'm willing to cut the episode some slack because I think what we're supposed to understand here is that she was going to give this Zen shit a real shot. Mm-hmm. And this is another fresh insult, and maybe this is Negan's core problem. That he's like, this has worked with every other community, but this particular community, you just are pissing them off, and they're going to eventually find a way to beat him. I think her defiance is supposed to be something that we kind of pump our fists and be like, yeah, at home.
Right.
And the fact that we're not doing that, I don't know.
I mean, I want them to resist. I do.
Right.
I don't know why the mattresses are the thing that sets her off.
Well, here's the thing. They've successfully convinced me of the hopelessness of the situation. So why I want them to resist, I think the best way to resist is to lay low. Lay low, formulate some plans, learn more about the world you're living in, and then you can do something. But right now, it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be defiant, and they want to be proud, and they want to... but they also want to be scared to death that Negan's going to beat one of their friends' heads in. And those are two affects that do not mix. They're not peanut butter and chocolate. They're opposite mental and emotional states.
Right.
And it's tough to see them kind of, I guess it's one way you could do it is the way they are, which is to go and shift different perspectives so that like everyone's on a different side of the continuum. Like Rick's right now just wanting everyone to get along. Michonne's not quite there yet. Carl's not quite there yet. Spencer's a fucking douchebag, fart in the wind. Who knows what's up with him?
Rosita seems to be the biggest rebeller of all.
So Rosita's actually trying to take some action.
Yeah.
She finds an empty bullet casing, goes to Eugene. We remember from last year that Eugene had the bright idea that he could maybe manufacture ammo.
Uh-huh.
And she says, make me a bullet.
I hope it's the same caliber as the Desert Eagle. I hope her gun is the same caliber.
I'm sure in Alexandria you could find casings for just about anything if you looked hard enough. Because my God, there's been a lot of gun battles there, and they don't have a janitorial service.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you want a 45, you want a 38, you want 50 caliber. Like it's all going to be there. I actually liked his end a lot. I thought this was the effect of kind of like Rosita going and saying and kind of bringing Eugene, who's a fearful coward, into this conspiracy. I thought was genuinely interesting. So I thought it was the way they shot it and the music and this is the promise of resistance to come, and I like it. I think we needed it.
Yeah,
and that's the episode, man. I do wonder what this would have been like as a 60-minute episode rather than a 90, because it did feel like there's a bit of fat.
I thought so.
And already that's a problem when you have a singular focus. But boy, when you got a singular focus, you want to make it as the leanest, most interesting story that you can. And I think they failed to do that.
Yeah, why give this 90 minutes in the middle of a season?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what they're trying to do with that.
I really don't know.
I mean, cynical part of me wants to say sell more advertising, but I don't know.
Hey, before we get to the feedback, I want to give everyone an update on the save.baldmove.com. Less than a week into it, we did it. We raised all the funds we needed to essentially guarantee that Bald Move will stay in business throughout 2017, and most likely unless we really fuck things up beyond, and I don't intend to do that. Do you, Jim? Is that on your 2017
I thought about
list?
it. I really considered just fucking it up, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you reconsidered. Because these fine people were so generous with their support. We actually shot over our fundraising goal. We're at almost $34,000 now out of 25 that we're trying to collect to keep us in business. You can see the details and how this money is actually going to fund Bald Move. We did another video kind of showing how that changes the math, and also obviously giving us a lot of heartfelt thanks. But since we did save Bald Move, again, you can go to save.baldmove.com if you want to see the epilogue video for that and the thank you video. But it's time to shift back into just plain old support mode.
Yeah.
And you can go to support.baldmove.com. There's a variety of ways you can do that. You can join the club. You can purchase merchandise or podcast commissions, and you can straight up donate cash, cold hard American currency or euros
or troy
or
ounces of silver if you want.
Some during this quote unquote crisis, a Bald Move listener was moved to send us 13 ounces of pure silver.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It was an interesting day for our mail. We got like what felt like a lead brick sent to us, but it was actually precious materials and not lead. So there's a variety of ways you can do it. Go to support.baldmove.com. If supporting independent podcasting is something you'd value, you get things in return: ad-free feeds, special club member only productions and videos, and podcast content, and VIP sections of the forums. It's not all a gimme. But you can go to support.baldmove.com to find out how you can continue to make sure Bald Move is running and independent into the future. And again, thank you so much for everyone who did respond to our drive. Us being in business in 2017 is due to a large part your guys' help. So Thank you very much.
Anyway, should we get to feedback?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I also have a lot to say in the spoiler section. I don't know if we got any spoiler mail, but I do.
We do.
Promise a robust spoiler section.
Okay. We start off feedback with Lainey. Says, first, can we all admit that Deanna was the worst leader for a community? Since her death, we've seen communities around just as long, if not more than Alexandria, and they're all thriving, growing crops, making tools, herding cattle and pigs, giving out sonogram pictures, and having choir rehearsals. Alexandria didn't even have a movie night, and they have solar energy on their side. I think it's safe to say that the Alexandria Safe Zone was a community built strictly for that top 1% who planned on living off the backs of the middle class as they did before the outbreak.
Yeah, it's a cultural wasteland.
Yeah. And now communities like Hilltop, the Kingdom, and the Sanctuary are all comprised of individuals that were considered lower or lower middle class in the past modern world. But here's my question. During the conversation between Dwight and his tag your it buddy, it sounded as though the Sanctuary was similar to Alexandria until Negan came and took it over. And according to Dwight's friend, they willingly gave it over to Negan. So are we about to do a deep analysis and comparison of Rick and Negan? Because the only difference I see is that Rick still has both his children, whereas Negan has no children or family. The fact that Negan, the governor, claimers have no real attachments to anybody in this world allows them to be angry and lash out at whomever they want for whatever they want, whereas Rick has two solid reasons, Carl and Judith, to make an effort to retain a sliver of humanity.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting up to a point.
Sure.
Because that is an interesting compare and contrast. I don't know, it's something that you can hang a whole season around, much less multiple seasons. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like it's that's a great question, one we've been asking on the podcast. Like, what is the essential difference between Rick and Negan?
Yeah.
And if it's just that, Negan, the Rick still got things to lose that he's afraid of, well, that I don't know. But I don't know what that says instructive either.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, that's a pretty well-worn hobby horse that, when you push a man or woman
right.
to where they have nothing left, that's when they're the most dangerous.
Yeah, it's Rosita.
When it's cornered, that's when they're most dangerous. Like, that's, and the other thing is, comparing Rick to Negan has happened several times already. Like, we had Rick to the governor and Rick to lots. I mean, like, anytime you got a big bad villain, it's always like, oh, well, it's, what's the difference between you and me? The fact that you got a cute kid and the 16-year-old with a mop top. I don't know.
Right. Okay, moving on to Josh E. He says, I've got a question regarding Walking Dead reviews. Do you ever feel that reviewers or people in general can be a bit too harsh? Believe me, I get the show isn't perfect, but I think it's leaps and bounds above many shows out there. Cringeworthy CW shows like The 100 and Once Upon a Time have god-awful acting and the most heavy-handed storytelling I've ever seen, and they consistently get better ratings than The Walking Dead. Do you think this show is unfairly criticized in comparison?
Well, so the fact is that they are broadcasting on the home of Mad Men and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And that's how AMC, like, no one gave a shit about AMC when they were just, the movie channel that showed a bunch of old colorized movies or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
That's more of a Turner classic, but whatever. Mad Men and Breaking Bad put them on the map. Mad Men and Breaking Bad were boutique, very highly regarded, award-winning dramas in the top, probably consensus top 5 Mount Rushmore of television. And a lot of what AMC does is positions Walking Dead in that same space.
Right.
If The Walking Dead was on, the CW and it had a significantly less budget and a smaller audience, people... I mean, no one goes after the fucking Flash because the Flash is not pretentious about what it's trying to do.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's like, kicking a community theater for not being professional enough. Like,
sure.
You got lighting and sound issues, man. Like, well, fuck you. And I think that's The Walking Dead's problem, is there's still people, like, most of the serious quote-unquote reviewers do not cover those smaller CW shows. They let the fan sites do it, and slowly but surely all of the professional reviewers are kind of giving up on The Walking Dead. And the ones that haven't are kind of still, like, writing articles from this viewpoint of, boy, I still see the glimpses of what the show could be, and I just think that, like, I don't understand why it does. And that's something we say a lot on our show, too. Like, it's not immediately obvious why they don't decide to make this thing Emmy-worthy.
Okay, yeah.
So
I'm with you.
As long as that's the case, where it's like, oh, it's so close to be, you can't. It's not A tier, but it's decidedly better than B tier. So like, it kind of needs to decide which one it wants to be, and
Right.
or else it's always going to be, trying to raise its exposure above to a level to where serious professional critics take notice of it, and then it's found wanting, it gets smacked down. Like,
Yeah, it does feel like
it's an in-betweener.
the production on this show, and I'm not talking necessarily about producers themselves or anything like that, or I'm talking about like writing and direct, like all of it combined. The production of this show feels like it's not quite up to snuff with what the critics who are used to reviewing these bigger shows are used to seeing. And like, in some ways, Walking Dead is a victim of its own success critically, because it is an enormous show. It is like the biggest show on TV. So if you believe the numbers of people downloading it versus like an HBO Game of Thrones thing.
Right.
This very well could be the biggest show on television right now. And just for that fact, it's going to be judged more harshly. I mean, some people have a vendetta against it. I'm sure like critics look at it and say, how can this show be getting so many viewers? It's a piece of garbage. And they write those reviews based on their kind of reactionary feelings. Sometimes. Now, the better reviewers or the better critics, I would say, don't do that. But the show is so big, and they're not making it feel like one of those big shows, like you said. And yeah, there's some disparity there where critics are gonna pan it because it's a little too big for its britches.
Right. Yeah, and it's also got big name talent attached to it.
That too.
You got veterans from The Wire and from classically trained British actors, and
right?
People from big budget movies that are on this show. So that raises a profile too.
Yeah. All right, Jan Silva says, on a podcast this season, we've talked about how Robert Kirkman loves to fuck with people and troll them. Rick being in a coma was a prominent theory in the fandom until Kirkman denied that he would ever go with that ending, which that sounds like a terrible ending.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was all a coma.
It was all in his mind.
Yeah. This was a bit I found in an article. Despite the constant pestering, Kirkman refuses to divulge the future of the story to Gimple and company. There's a quote from Kirkman, "They're kind of 100% in the dark," which I guess is pretty remarkable. He's talking about the like Gimple and all the writers and stuff.
Why would it be remarkable? Because the full story is only in his head. So
right, but it's like if George Martin had not given the end of the story to...
Oh, okay. I thought he was saying,
Ds.
like, it's remarkable that I haven't spoiled the damn thing because I'm a fucking crazy person. I'm a loose cannon out here.
It's remarkable that they will let him get away with not giving them the ending.
Okay.
And I would probably say it's testament to the trust that AMC has in me. I mean, I guess to a certain extent at this point, the comic book is kind of a workshop of future seasons of the show. And it's fun to think that I can just completely torpedo the story if I wanted to.
Yeah. Fun.
Jan goes on, it would be a huge downer if this is the ending he decided to go with, mainly because it feels like a short story someone in middle school would write. Anyway, what do you guys think? Is he trolling, or could this be a legit ending to the series? So I realize that I'm tossing out pure troll bait to a man who has proven he loves to troll his audience.
Right.
But there is no fucking way he would end the story that way, right?
I don't say there's no fucking way because, like, I've been wrong in recent memory about a
right, but we both
lot
agree.
Of things I thought were sure things.
This would be so much bullshit, right?
It would. Like, honestly,
okay.
I would never watch anything he did again, just on general principle.
Right.
Like, I'd just be like, okay, well, I guess I'm, going to give up Outcast and everything else I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like you just can't do that. Like, they've done that. Like, the jury's in on that. That's like some really bullshit 80s soap opera shit. You can't do it. You can't do it. It affects your legacy, man.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the end of this story actually is. I don't know that he even has an ending in his mind.
I don't think so. He does either.
I think he's going to keep writing this until the show is no longer popular. And then I don't know how they're going to...
At one point I heard that he had like a 200 episode run in mind. But I feel
for the show?
No, for the comics. They're in the 160s, so that's less than 4 years of content, almost 3.
Yeah,
so,
I mean they do have a lot of stuff to get through. in the show, certainly.
Yeah,
I just wonder how much
about 40
steam-
issues behind. So
Right, like how much steam can this show maintain? Can it make it all the way to 200?
I mean, it's got a lot of audience.
It does.
And they don't spend
It
any
does.
money on it. Like that's the thing.
Right.
They're spending on this show like it's only getting 4 to 5 million people watching it, and they're
Yeah.
So if Walking Dead ever dips below 4 or 5 million, then you could start to worry about its long term future. But for right now, it feels like they have. I don't know how. That's the thing. That stuff can turn in a minute. Like, it can be a hit show and just lose half its audience, like
Right.
2 consecutive years in a row, and you could be there in a flash.
Yeah.
And then what's the plan there?
That's what I mean. Like 7 more years of this. Seems
Because
like
it's
a
not
lot.
it's not a critical darling.
No.
So like
not at
once
all.
the ratings go, you got to think AMC. Like does AMC love this show? Does AMC feel any affinity for its fans? Does it feel like they owe like if The Walking Dead gets to that point, do they put pressure on Kirkman to end it, or do they like, okay, we'll give you another season or 2 for
Right.
old time's sake to wrap things up?
I mean, that is well within their wheelhouse. They did that with *Halt and Catch Fire* for the past 2 seasons.
I would also think that at some point Kirkman's got to get tired of this universe and this story, and he wants to finish it as well.
I would think so.
Like, that some of these things just need to end.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already talked about, like, last week it kind of scared me when we started talking about this show and the actors wanting to get out and all that. Like, I'm like, man, if you lose Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus,
Yeah.
and if Carl goes to college, like, what do you got left?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to build a show around Father Gabriel?
God, I hope not.
I don't think so.
Every week, a new church, just devastated.
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
Dan from
How
Philly.
long does he get? How long does he get into the episode before he starts nailing the windows shut?
Dan from Philly says, this is without a doubt the poorest written show with 15 million viewers ever. Really, actually having a correct inventory and all of your weapons, including a rocket launcher, together and ready to be given away. Besides the fact that Carol, Morgan, Nicholas, and even the wolves stole guns. So yeah, it makes perfect sense the woman guarding the armory in the garage can be expected to suddenly become a competent accountant.
But wait, I don't think that's too much to ask that they have a inventory of their guns. And yes, when
Right.
they get raided, they go over and see what's stolen, and then you write that out of your inventory. But like I feel like that is a basic rule of the post-apocalyptic society. You got to keep track of that shit. Now, whether Olivia does a great job at it or not, I mean, obviously Spencer stole from her, but
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of questioning like how also that the saviors might somehow miraculously find a buried cache of weapons if they were to just bury them and not turn them all over. How would that happen? I mean, there are many ways that could happen.
But I feel like Rick articulated that. It's like, look, okay, so what? We hide the guns,
right, for years.
If we ever use them and we get spotted using them, people are going to die.
Yeah.
So, like, what is the benefit? What is the upside for keeping these guns? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or I mean, every time they go to retrieve them or bury another or something, they run the risk of being followed, being spotted. I mean, we know that the saviors outsmarted them on the road
Sure.
not too long ago. So
Yep, that's fresh in Rick's memory.
yeah, I'm with you. Aaron D says Spencer is that guy who always fucking complains about how things are being done and about the people in leadership, but never wants to do anything himself or develop any thoughts into action. He wanted to make a deal with them, but wouldn't that deal have involved them turning over their supplies as well? Also, Rosita is now every girl who is super capable, but for some dramatic writer reason, she has to be paired with a waste of human space. Oh, I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Every year, I wish Walking Dead can continue to grow female characters, but every year they grow Carol and Michonne only and call it done.
I thought Rosita has some interesting developments here. Like, whether you like her pairing up with Eugene or not, like the fact that she is the lone face of the resistance is kind of cool.
Yeah, and, say what you want about Tara. I do think they made Tara, brought Tara
Denise.
Around for me.
Love Denise.
Denise
That's the
was
big,
pretty awesome,
that's
yeah.
the big thing that I am kind of the what the fuck now is, Denise got given Abraham's death in the comics. Just to turn around and a few episodes later beat Abraham's brains in. So it really feels like Denise's death was just a way to distract from the madness of the Glen or to balance that in writers' room. I don't know. I still am smarting over Denise because I thought they really developed that character, and then she died. So shit.
And we still haven't dealt with the aftermath of that death.
No,
and it's now been like 8 months.
And I don't think you ever will until Tara comes back.
Right.
And then it's going to feel real weird because everyone else has been further traumatized and like, Denise who? Oh,
yeah.
Right. Her.
Oh, we had a doctor at some point.
We had a proto-doctor, yeah.
Josh L. says, this fucking show, the quality is all over the place. If I had to listen to Negan say, that's something I just can't abide one more time, I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
He doesn't. He would say, that's something I just can't abide. As he's doing that weird bouncing up and down thing.
He also almost looks like he's perpetually about to fall over backwards.
Yeah,
like his very top heavy or something.
He's doing a little bit of a low rent Johnny Depp from Pirates of the Caribbean, just kind of careening unsteadily on his feet and being loosey goosey. And
it worked in the first few meetings.
It's just,
but it's going to get old.
It's just a character full of ticks, right? And you don't that they're really cool, but when you see it for 90 minutes, unblinking, not turning away, you start noticing like. These are the things that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is doing to convey intensity.
Right.
And it's kind of a limited bag of tricks. And when you see it for the 6th time in the same episode, it's like, okay, I get it. He's doing that little bouncy, sing-songy thing. And
yeah, Josh agrees with you. It's funny that you mentioned tics because he says it was chilling the first time, but now it just seems like it might be a Tourette's tic.
Right.
Having Negan threaten someone with every line takes away the meaning.
Right.
Also, these 90-minute episodes are always annoying. They'll have about 10 minutes of interesting story, 40 minutes of other story, and 40 minutes of AT&T commercials. You're not wrong.
It does feel like the commercials grow at the screen time at like a 2-to-1 rate.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, when you got a 90-minute episode, it's not like you got like 75 minutes of show. You got like 60 minutes of show and 30 minutes commercial.
Yeah.
Which is more than I think the 45-15 split you usually get. So that's the thing. Like, and I felt that with Mr. All of them. It seems like you get a 90-minute episode, like, oh boy, you get more filler than you do actual content.
Mm-hmm. He does have some good things to say here. He did a quick good, bad, and ugly, but I'm going to go with the good.
Yeah.
For some much-needed refreshment. The camera work. They did some amazing shots this episode. Seriously, the distance between Rick and Michonne in bed, how they framed Rick and Michonne in that house, the gap between them broken by the turn in the wall to show the divide between them. The 2 headless Walker corpses Negan left on their doorstep, serving as a grim reminder to Rick. I missed that. I missed that entirely.
He did. He killed 2 of them, and I think that's when he says "watch my form," and it kind of triggered Rick, like the fact that he was going to do exactly what he did to like Glenn and Abraham. And that's what I think made him tighten up on Lucille. Like, it wasn't so much thinking this was it. He was just really angry of the being reminded and being forced to thank him for something that, like, oh, you killed 2 walkers? Like, thank you. You've kept us safe. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, Andrew Lincoln's acting, which we've talked about and praised before.
Sure.
Negan's reaction to Gabriel, holy shit, you are creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick opening up about Shane and Rick's... you're small, you are weak to Spencer. What are you talking about there? Rick opening up. Okay, I mixed those two. Rick opening up about Shane.
Faulty cut and paste there.
Yeah. Great writing, tight, concise, evocative. Yeah, I agree with most of those positive things.
Yeah, that's the thing. This episode had a lot of good stuff. I just openly question what it had been like with 60 minutes instead of 90, and also, you know, we need to come up with an acronym that we can just say that is shorthand for, boy, if this thing did a multi-threaded storyline instead of the single focus, it would be so much better.
Yeah, they're almost making fools out of us in the same way that we think they're failing with this repetitive writing, because we constantly say the same things.
Right.
Because how we have to point out when these things happen.
But it's like I said, it's failures on multiple levels, and it's all the same cause. Like, it's like, you know, eating a gallon of vanilla ice cream versus a gallon of Neapolitan. Like, at least you break the monotony. It's the same thing, but you're not having to sit. So that's a little, the Negan fatigue. I don't think that's real so much as it's just eating the gallon of fucking vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
Dwight's character is being done real violence, I think. because they're trying to make this character like the glimmers of sympathy, and they immediately extinguish it by having him be this incredible, outrageous asshole in this episode.
That's like the chocolate vanilla swirl, except it all melted.
Right.
And now it's just a pool of mush.
Right, and we've already talked about, like, when Tara comes back, it's going to be, like, a worse joke than when Maggie fell to her knees and screamed over her sister.
Yeah.
Because that's a perfectly viable character beat to have, but Maggie, we saw her, she just didn't give a shit about her sister. She was focused on everything but Tara we just haven't even seen.
Yeah. It's just a misplaced moment.
Yeah, and there's no reason why that moment couldn't have been served.
Yeah.
Except for they want to fucking have a big Heath Tara episode later. It probably saves money. Like, I think I saw some feedback in the forums where people were saying this has just got to be a money saving because you don't need all the actors all the time. Mm-hmm. And you can probably, their contract probably has stuff built in, like how many episodes they appear and...
Yeah, especially for...
are they featured or appearing or guest stars?
Like, right. For the people who are guest stars, which they still call a lot of the... what I would call regulars, guest stars or the appearances, whatever.
That's all contract bullshit, but again, it just seems like it is doing bad things to the pacing and to the characterizations and to the plot. And it's all stemming. Yeah. So it's hard when four warts appear on the episode's ass. They're all caused by the same virus. You end up repeating yourself by making the same diagnosis. I don't know what to do about it because I know it's tedious. I understand. We always get feedback after these episodes, and don't know what to do.
I'm gonna read one of the uglies because I agreed with it so wholeheartely. The CGI. It's pretty ugly. Those burning beds. Jesus, my roommate and I thought it was an alien ship crash at first glance.
I thought it was because our feed sometimes is not the greatest resolution here in the studio. But I watched my high def and I'm still like, nope, that looks like fucking giant bars of soap on fire.
We said the exact same thing during the live watch. The aliens have landed.
Yeah. There's we said it's the X-Files controversial X-Files crossover episode. Yeah, it was weird. Did not read his mattresses to me.
Mm-mm. So, David from Brisbane. Brisbane, is that how you say it, Australia?
Brisbane?
I don't know.
You're asking me? That's the real question.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. My wife and I have just caught the latest episode. Generally, we felt it was pretty strong. Although there were some cringeworthy moments. That guy harassing the pretty little girl Enid and Dwight looking to prove he is a Negan mini-me. I mean... I don't know how to feel about those moments because they were effective. They made me hate these fuckers.
Right.
But I don't know. I was just uncomfortable during it. And I think that's the emotion they were going for. So,
and I do want to say that portraying a hateable character is not the easiest thing in the world. And I think guys that was it the Gleason kid that played Joffrey?
Yeah.
It's not
Jack. Yeah.
Is it Jack Gleason for real? Okay.
It totally is.
Who played Joffrey on Game of Thrones, if you're not familiar with that, one of the most hateable characters of all time. Having a smug, punchable face is a part of it, but it's kind of hard to be really authentically hateable and not just eye rolling.
Right.
And I feel like Dwight's doing that part of it, but just to what end? Because they also seem like they're wanting to tell the tale of his face turn as well.
Right.
And it's hard to do them both. Hard to convince you he's a fucking irredeemable asshole and also that he's got a glimmer of good in him.
Yeah, I would say go with the irredeemable asshole first and then maybe show the glimmer of hope later, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's like, Return of the Jedi when Vader decides to grab the Palpatine and throw him off the cliff. If they have, then he goes back and decides to kill a whole room full of Jedi children. Right after that, it's like, wait, what? What kind of arc is this?
Very
it's
strange.
Weird. It's weird. And it's,
Yeah, David goes on, I do think Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Andrew Lincoln are both such strong actors that they make everyone else look second-rate. Some of the script writing doesn't help, but they all have the same source, so clearly Negan and Rick are the leaders of the pack as far as acting goes. And I want to call bullshit on Rosita finding the empty shell. She wasn't around when Negan fired the gun, and then she just happens to come across it in the middle of the night. What the fuck? Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
That wasn't the Desert Eagle shell, was it?
I think so, yeah.
Huh.
Because they do a close-up in the same position and everything on that shell.
Okay. Well, Because I was just figured that you could just easily find shells all over.
Right.
You know, it's like going to a shooting range and finding shells. Like, oh, wow. You don't have to look that hard.
Jarment79 has a question that I can't quite remember the answer to. He says, Blender gun. Can't remember. Does that still exist?
Blender gun. I don't think so. I thought they got like I thought all caches of guns are accounted for at this point.
Okay.
Because he's gone through the burying the gun well. And the other thing is, like, at this point, I don't know that it matters because Rick knew about that gun, and if he's keeping something from Negan at this point, what would I even say about that?
Sure. Yeah.
So the show's fucked either way. If the blender gun still exists and Rick's just forgotten about, it's going to show up later, I'm going to call bullshit. And if they've addressed it and accounted for it, then okay, it's not a big issue.
Yeah, it must be gone.
So yeah,
I don't remember how it disappeared. I think Rick might have grabbed it, or Carol grabbed it, or something.
Or Enid.
I don't know. Enid grabbed it.
I feel like you'd have something
it.
she was finding on her romps.
Yeah, can't remember. Anyway, Josh F. says, this submissive/torture porn is pretty depressing to watch. Half expecting Negan to show up at the Alexandria gates in a couple of weeks wearing a leather whip and a ball gag for Rick, or with a leather whip and a ball gag for Rick to wear during the visit. I get it from a narrative perspective that we can't just have Rick and crew grabbing the power back in the first half of the season, but damn, viewers are going to have to eat this shit sandwich for a while, it seems.
Makes me think, it does make me think of what if it had been more interesting long term if Rick just really seems like he's whipped and there's no fire in his belly at all. And he just looks broken. So, like, not only the characters openly questioning his leadership, but we, the viewers, like, Jesus Christ, what the hell?
Right. Yeah, it is going to be tough to watch if this continues this way. And I don't mean that from, like, the way that The Walking Dead is usually tough to watch. I mean that from, like, as a viewer, some of these things are hard to just sit through. Mm-hmm. Like, when you've got a guy menacing Enid,
right.
That's fucking hard to sit through.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight for Daryl, for Alexandria, for any of these people.
Right.
Cappy from New York. Come on, Cappy, you should know better. There are a few things I would love to hear your comments on today. The first is a bit tangential. What are your thoughts on Dave Chappelle's Negan? I thought it was hilarious. Not only is Dave a fan of the show, but apparently so are his many characters. Very hilarious stuff on Saturday.
Did you see that?
I did. I went and watched it, yeah.
It's pretty fucking
good.
I thought it was pretty good. Dave Chappelle's whole turn on Saturday Night Live was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't know, he did a thing where he played Negan doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mosh scene with, like, all of his memorable characters. Little John, the crack addict,
right,
the white guy, all of them. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty good.
I like that he did the bubblegum dish rhyme instead of the
right
the eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Right.
Yeah, it was glorious. You can find it on YouTube if you want to check it out. He goes on, so this episode, like many, is about defiance versus compliance, I'll say. It says compile Eve, but there's no way that's
Eve?
That's what it means. Typically, Rick is on...
That's next season a hint for Mr. Robot, I think.
It is.
Compile Eves.
Typically, Rick is on the defiant and inciting his people to stand with him side, but the roles have clearly reversed. Michonne, Rosita, Spencer, Father Gabriel, Daryl, Carl, and even Aaron's partner, who I've forgotten about, all exhibit defiance.
Is his name Eric?
Probably,
because like
he's been a non-entity in the show for the most part.
Right.
He had one dinner scene.
He made some mean spaghetti.
He did. One way or another toward Negan and his group, while Rick seems to display quasi-reluctant compliance.
It is Eric. Yes.
There's also an internal defiance of Spencer against Rick, and I'm wondering how they will expand on this in later episodes. Yeah, I mean, I do think there is going to be some resistance to Rick. And his just bowing down before Negan. That's a good question.
Because if they do, then I really think the show is lost. Because that like there is no difference between Rick and Negan.
Right.
Like, the only way, like, he has to and that also goes against the kind of the hopeful plot for Glenn, where it's like, he's trying to save Nicholas just as a point that, like, this is we can't just leave people behind anymore. It's kind of like a statement about society today as much as the zombie apocalypse. And if Rick just beats to death everyone who he can't sway to his side, well, what the hell are they trying to say here?
It would be pretty shitty of him to beat Spencer to death when he just banished Carol. Like, if you want to do anything, just banish the man. Don't beat him to death, Rick.
Right.
What do you think will be the inciting incident for Rick to realize the weight of all he has to protect is better kept safe by fighting than complying?
I think, I made some wry statements, but we know the kingdom is out there, and it's inevitable that they will eventually get in the talk. And it feels like that they emphasize that it's a numbers thing. It's a numbers thing. Well, the kingdom's a massive operation, and there might be other communities out there. Like, there'll be a critical mass where Rick's like, oh, shit, we might have the numbers. Also, it's also pretty obvious that they're laying some track there with Dwight. Like some that's proxy for there being an internal struggle. Like, it's not all everyone, united behind Negan. Like, the way the governor seemed like everybody in Woodbury kind of liked the governor and thought he was the cat's pajamas, and no one really talked rebellion about it.
Right.
So those are the two avenues that, like, Rick is going to have other allies that are tired of Negan's bullshit at the same time that they acquire numbers. Now, once they have the numbers, I don't know what to do about the gun problem.
Right.
Because even if it was even odds, well, I'd pick the guys with the guns versus the guys with the bows and arrows. So I don't know what they do with that.
Okay, well, that's it for the feedback. We are going to have some spoiler action, so if you want to get in on that, you can stick around until after the music. If you want to send in your own feedback, you can get on the forums, which I don't check. If you want to get on the show, you got to send an email to watchingdead@baldmove.com. I will get that, and you will be considered for next episode. I get a lot of email, though, so if I don't use your email, I apologize, but I couldn't read them all.
It's tough.
Yeah. And with that said, we will see you next week. Until then, I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And we're back with the spoiler section. What do you got?
So I think it's interesting, and I guess it wasn't super obvious, but so Andrea in the comics is still alive.
Right.
And she is both Rick's lover and the group sharpshooter.
Yep.
Which seems like something they were taking down the original Andrea until she decided she wanted, no more of this, and she noped out of the show, and they killed her off.
Uh-huh.
Now, it seems like they're just essentially taking Michonne and giving her Andrea's plot. But it's confusing to me because, okay, she's going to develop and become their sharpshooter, which is going to be significant in the war to come. But then they immediately took away her practice rifle.
Right.
So is that a case of, is that kind of more Kirkman trolling? Or is that to plant the seed that's going to develop once Rick finds another source of guns? I mean, that's the thing, scavenging in America, finding a gun is going to be an everyday occurrence. Mm-hmm. So Negan saying no more magic guns, that if Alexandrians want to start hoarding guns again, it'd be very easy for them to do so.
Right.
So the other thing that I don't understand is, if I recall correctly, one of the big things with the Saviors is that they were largely out of ammo. In fact, everybody but Alexander Safe Zone is largely out of ammunition. Mm-hmm. Here it seems like with them confiscating all Alexander's shit, they got plenty of guns and plenty of ammo. They haven't made any point of but they've also introduced the reloading bullets plot. So I don't know what kind of Kirkman remix we're in for with all this, but these are some things that I thought was weird. Also, there's a plot in the comics where there's a girl called Holly who's superficially physically similar to Andrea. And Negan kidnaps the wrong person at one point to try to have power over Rick, and it doesn't work because he thinks he's got Andrea and he's got Holly. There's no one there's no one like Michonne and Alexandria that mix-up could possibly apply to.
Right.
Like, he ain't going to kidnap Heath and be like, oh, I've got Rick's girlfriend. It's like, no, man. The two of these things are not like the other.
Right.
Or one of these, they're just not like. They're very dissimilar. So I wonder if they're just not going to do that part of their plot.
It's possible, yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe they're not going to do any of it. Like you said, I mean, I don't know that they actually are going to be able to turn Michonne into a badass marksman without any guns.
I mean, I think you could tell that story, but
she'd have to do it on her own, right? It's not like Rick is going to help her with that because in his mind, you find a gun, we give it to Negan.
Yeah, and also, what was she doing out of the Jeep field?
I don't know.
She had no more gun to practice with, and it looked like she's just going to go and practice her Zen, but she can do that in Alexandria. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe we're supposed to understand that she took the bag because she was also kind of scavenging, so she needs something to hold shit in.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought it was weird that they're shifting her in Andrea's role, but then they kind of like backed right back out of that. Mm-hmm. And,
but now she's super pissed, so maybe she hides, and she can't hide a gun, apparently, from Rick, so
yeah,
maybe she finds one, hides it, and uses it when she can.
At what point, because that's one of the other plots that and where I'm kind of confused, because I remember being really pissed at Rick, that's like, Jesus Christ, when are you going to stand up against this guy? Mm-hmm. Like, they'd almost convinced me that he had given up. And, like, Andrea turned on him, Carl had turned on him, everybody turns on him, and then he finally, at one point, like, brings, I think Andrea's the first one, where he's like, of course I haven't fucking turned over. I've been planning this thing, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, fuck yeah, Rick. I wonder how they're going to do that, because this Rick has, he's way too defiant, it seems like, at this point. Maybe I'm misremembering from the comics, but it just feels like that Rick was playing this, we got to accept this is the way the world works. Like, he's pushing that not just in his words, but also his demeanor and his actions and everything. Like, I just don't want trouble, okay? I don't want any more people to die. And he's saying those things, but he's acting like a man who's kind of cavalier about whether people should live or die.
Maybe that's going to be part of the arc, I guess, is, they don't feel like just having this one moment where he's got to decide whether or not to chop off Carl's arms,
right,
is going to be enough to really break the man. So they're kind of going to push him farther down that hole as they go, and then have him come out of it later.
Yeah,
to extend the season artificially, maybe some might say.
So that's the other thing is, like, I talked about the pacing and character development and Dwight and how it looks like a regression. One of the plot points in the comics is that Dwight does turn traitor to Negan, and he's instrumental in being the man out on the inside that gives them intelligence and coordinates things so that leads to the successful assault on the Savior's complex. And the moment of Dwight coming forward and kind of volunteering his services in this line is a real, the way they've showed his dissatisfaction with Negan was a lot more subtle and a lot more time to kind of develop. And when he makes this offer to Rick, Rick doesn't have any information that, like, it's kind of, it reads as an act of faith. Mm-hmm. Like, boy, this thing is all kind of like everything's into balance and everything depends on this one dice throw, and I'm going to trust, I'm going to affirmatively trust this man, and it worked out for them. But the moment read as kind of like a real act of faith, whereas, like, they've already shown so much of Dwight, and also they have Daryl on the inside who can confirm, like, all this stuff is going on, so, like, they don't have to just trust Dwight. I'm wondering what they're doing with that kind of remix too, or if they've even thinking about what the good things that they do in the comic with that tension that they might be throwing away by bringing Daryl into the compound so that we can break Daryl. Oh, that'll be cool. We can fucking give him his own Theon plot.
Right. So let me get into the first email because it has a lot to do with that.
Okay.
Citizens for Teague, I'm going to call it. It's
all
probably
right.
Teague, but I'm saying Teague. I must be crazy because this seems so obvious to me, but I haven't heard anyone talk about it yet. Are they not just planning to have Daryl take over Dwight's storyline? Then Alexandria will be led by Rock, the Kingdom by Carol, Hilltop by Maggie, and the Sanctuary by Daryl. This is what they're doing, right? So, I mean, what about, just eliminating Dwight? Get rid of Dwight and have Daryl be the thing that
That's
allows
even more
Rick
obvious,
the end. I know,
right?
I know, it's more obvious. Do you think that's what they're doing? Do you think that's the thing they're going for?
It never crossed my mind. I thought that Daryl was a yes and, not a no but. So
Right.
I thought he was going to be included with the Dwight story and maybe give Dwight's motivations a little bit more clarity. I don't know, man. That's an interesting suggestion, but also something, I guess it feels dissatisfying. Like, why even have Dwight at all then?
Right. Just have Daryl be taken in and become what Dwight is right now.
Having Daryl bump into him makes, like, almost elevates Dwight to a higher place than he was in the comics. Like, this stuff, this whole arc has to do with him at a very, very baseline level. If you're going to write him out just for shits and grins later, like, why? That makes that episode of them, wandering together and getting double-crossed last season even more stupid in retrospect.
Uh-huh. All right, Graham H. says, I feel like the writers are trying to make Dwight more unlikable than he is in the comics, which may make his story arc less believable. In the comics, Dwight, after turning traitor to Negan in All Out War, is a close ally to Rick, like you said, becomes a very respectable leader in the war against the Whisperers. Granted, Dwight's character does evolve a lot during that time. Even in the beginning, his motivations for being a dick is to keep his family safe. In the show, however, Dwight is actively trying to antagonize people like Rosita for no apparent reason. Not to mention he accidentally shot Denise as opposed to Abraham, making him less of a badass, more of a scumbag.
Agreed.
In short, I'm not sure how Dwight will still betray Negan, but I don't buy him turning into the true blue hero that he's supposed to become. Yeah, I mean, for all those reasons that we talked about in the full episode, I agree with you. Or in the recap, I agree with you. It's problematic having him be such an asshole in the city.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you got a character, you got to show a character struggling with like a role they're trying to play for some other guy. And I keep thinking of like Nick Cage portraying the anguish of being John Travolta locked in Cyrus the Virus's body, or what? That wasn't Cyrus the Virus. It was what, Pollux?
Yeah, it was Pollock Troy, his brother.
Yeah.
He was in Castor Troy.
Castor Troy, yeah. There you go. He played that pretty fucking broadly,
right?
I'm Castor Troy, but
it was an act clearly
in
front of his brother.
Yeah, and it was like something like the camera noticed, but no one else did. Like everybody, we knew his character enough that we could detect that fine little line, but no one else could.
Right.
So there's ways you can do that on film.
Yep.
Dwight, and I also don't think.
Are you suggesting you switch Dwight and Daryl's faces?
Of course.
What you're suggesting.
Of course. And I would like to see Dwight's Norman Reedus impersonation. but you know what I mean? So you got that, number one. It's kind of tricky what they're trying to do, but then they've also got this disjointed storytelling where they bookend Dwight's character development episode with him being an asshole, which makes it seem like there is, it's less of an act and more like this is the kind of guy that Dwight really wants to be.
Yeah.
Or that he was driven to be this kind of asshole by the situation he's in. But I don't know. It's weird. They're trying to straddle that fence. It seems like it's a bad idea. Like, that would have been much better if it was just a natural progression. Like, okay, well, this guy swung into being an asshole to fit in and to kind of deal with the pain. Mm-hmm. But when he's confronted with the ability the fact that there's settlements that can maybe do this the right way, he feels genuine remorse and contrition and wants to fight that good fight. This just feels like a guy just jerking back and forth and being bipolar.
Yeah, I'm with you. And finally, Devin from Austin says, do you think Daryl is taking Carl's storyline in the comics, where Carl is basically our eyes into seeing how the sanctuary functions?
No way, man. If we get robbed out of Carl stowing away in the and it'd be funny if he might have done it already. Like, it would be interesting retroactively if we understand that POV from the gun truck is Carl smuggling himself in there. But if we miss out, I mean, him stowing away and showing those stones in front of Negan sets up Negan and Carl's relationship, which is arguably one of the big impactful storylines of the post time jump plot line. Again, I didn't follow it past the Whisperer plot, but I presume that continued to bear fruit. Negan as the prisoner and Carl as so he's like the Hannibal Lecter and Carl as the Agent Starling.
Okay.
His soul's kind of into balance, and what kind of man he's going to be is caught up between this, the shadow his father cast and Negan. Mm-hmm. If they just do away with all that, then what the hell?
Yeah, I can't see them doing
like
that.
That's gutting a lot of what The Walking Dead is.
Right. And that's it.
That's all I got too.
Okay, cool. It's another podcast in the bag. Thanks everybody for joining us through the spoilers, and we will see you next time.
Yep. See ya.